You see, there's something rather peculiar that happens when you begin to wake up. When you stop playing the game quite so seriously, when you see through the great cosmic joke of it all, you become, how shall I put it, inconvenient. You become an irritation to those who are still fast asleep, still clutching desperately to their roles, their masks, their carefully constructed sense of who they think they are. It's not that you're trying to bother anyone. Quite the opposite. You're simply being. You're breathing. You're walking through life with a certain lightness, a certain freedom. But that very freedom, that very peace you carry, it disturbs something in others. It rattles their cages. And they don't even know why. Have you noticed this? You walk into a room perfectly calm, perfectly friendly, and someone looks at you as if you've just insulted their entire family. You haven't said a word. You haven't done anything wrong. But your very presence seems to set off some invisible alarm in their nervous system. What's happening here? Why does your peace make them so uncomfortable? Why does your refusal to play the social games cause such strange reactions? Well, let me tell you what's really going on. When you awaken, when you see through the illusion of the separate self, when you stop identifying with the ego and all its desperate demands, you become a mirror. And mirrors, as you know, can be terribly uncomfortable things. They show people what they don't want to see. Not because you're judging them, not because you're trying to make them feel bad, but simply because you exist in a different way now. You're not playing by the old rules. And that makes the ego in others very, very nervous. So let's talk about the 5 ways people's egos will react to your awakening. Not so you can feel superior, mind you. That would just be your own ego sneaking back in through the side door. But so you can understand what's happening. So you can respond with compassion instead of confusion. So you can continue to walk your path without being thrown off by these reactions. When you stop defending yourself, when you stop justifying your choices, when you simply say no without a paragraph of reasons, something strange happens. People get upset. They demand explanations. They want you to prove that you have a good reason for living the way you live. You see, the ego loves to judge. It loves to evaluate, to measure, to determine whether someone else's choices meet its approval. And when you refuse to play this game, when you don't offer your life up for inspection, the ego feels robbed. It feels as though you're being rude, unfair, even arrogant. But here's the thing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your existence. You don't need permission to be. You don't have to justify your peace, your choices, your way of moving through the world. When you're asleep, you probably spent enormous amounts of energy trying to make others understand you, trying to prove that you were living correctly. But now you've seen through that trap. You've realized that no amount of explaining will satisfy the ego's hunger for control. So what happens? People get irritated. They accuse you of thinking you're better than them. They say you've become distant, cold, difficult to reach. But you haven't changed in the way they think. You simply stopped performing. You stopped auditioning for a role in their drama. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to argue about it. You don't need to defend your refusal to defend yourself. You simply smile, perhaps, and go about your business, like water flowing around a rock. The rock can complain all it wants, but the water just keeps flowing. Number 2, they will test you to see if you're real. This is a curious one. When people sense that you've found something, some kind of peace or clarity they haven't found, they often can't resist testing it. It's like when you tell someone you're not bothered by something, and they immediately try to bother you about that very thing. They poke, they prod, they say things designed to get a reaction. Why do they do this? Because the ego in them wants to prove that you're just pretending. It wants to show that underneath your calm exterior, you're just as anxious, just as reactive, just as trapped as they are. If they can get you to break, to lose your composure, to snake back at them, then they can dismiss what you represent. They can go back to sleep feeling justified. You might find people bringing up old arguments, mentioning things they know used to upset you, creating situations designed to push your buttons. A colleague at work might suddenly start criticizing everything you do. A family member might bring up that one topic they know always started fights. A friend might make comments about how you've changed, how you're not fun anymore, how you take yourself too seriously or not seriously enough. And here's what's marvelous about this. If you react, if you get defensive or angry or upset, their ego wins. It gets to say, see, I knew it, you're not really at peace, you're just putting on an act. But if you don't react, if you remain calm and present, their ego gets even more irritated. Because now it can't dismiss you. Now it has to face the possibility that what you have might be real. So what do? You let them test. You let them poke and prod, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you genuinely aren't bothered anymore. You've seen through the dream. You know that their testing is just their own fear speaking, their own ego trying to protect itself from the possibility of change. Number 3, they will gossip and create stories about you. When you stop participating in the constant drama of social life, when you stop gossiping, stop complaining, stop playing the games of alliance and betrayal, something interesting happens. You become a subject of gossip yourself. People will create stories about you. They'll say you think you're better than everyone else. They'll say you've become strange, disconnected, too spiritual, not grounded. They'll wonder what's wrong with you, what happened to make you so different. And they'll discuss all of this behind your back, weaving theories and explanations for your behavior. Why does this happen? Because the ego needs to make sense of things. When someone steps outside the usual patterns, the ego in others becomes uncomfortable. It needs to categorize, to label, to put you in a box it can understand. And if it can't find a box that fits, it will create one. Usually a box that makes you seem flawed or foolish or misguided in some way. You might hear through others that people are saying you've had some kind of breakdown, or that you're going through a phase, or that you've joined some weird spiritual cult. The stories will vary, but they'll all have one thing in common. They'll all be attempts to explain away what's happening with you in a way that protects their own worldview. And here's the thing. You cannot stop this. You cannot control what others say about you. If you try, if you go around defending yourself, correcting the stories, setting the record straight, you'll exhaust yourself. You'll be pulled right back into the drama you've been trying to step away from. The awakened response is to let them talk. Let them create their stories. Let them gossip and theorize and worry about you if they want to. Their stories have nothing to do with you anyway. Their stories about their own fears, their own resistance to change, their own unwillingness to question the game they're playing. As they say, what others think of you is none of your business. And it really isn't. You are not the character in their story. You are simply you, walking your path, being present, living with awareness. The rest is just noise. Number 4, they will try to pull you back into old patterns. This one can be particularly tricky, especially with people you've known for a long time. Family members, old friends, people who knew you before you woke up. They remember the old you. The you who played the games, who got upset about the things they got upset about, who participated in all the usual dramas. And now you've changed. You don't react the same way. You don't get pulled into the same arguments. You don't play your old role in the family dynamic or the social group. And this makes them uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So what do? They try to pull you back. They'll bring up old memories, trying to remind you of who you used to be. They'll invite you into old patterns of relating. They'll create situations where you're expected to play your old part. And if you don't, they'll express hurt or confusion or frustration. A mother might say, you used to tell me everything what happened. A friend might complain that you're not the same person anymore, that you've lost your sense of humor, that you're no fun. A sibling might accuse you of thinking you're too good for the family now. It suggests that maybe others could change too. And that's a frightening thought for the ego. Change means uncertainty. Change means the comfortable patterns might not hold. So they resist your transformation by trying to make you the same person you used to be, but you can't go back. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't. Once you've seen through the illusion, once you've tasted real freedom, the old ways of being feel like costumes that no longer fit. You can love these people. You can be kind to them. You can spend time with them. But you cannot pretend to be someone you're not anymore just to make them comfortable. So what do? You remain present. You remain loving. But you don't take the bait. When they try to pull you into an old argument, you don't argue. When they try to make you feel guilty for changing, you don't defend yourself. You simply are who you are now, and you trust that either they'll adjust to this new way of relating, or they won't. And either way, you continue on your path. Number 5, they will feel uncomfortable in your presence. This is perhaps the most subtle and the most powerful reaction. When you've awakened, when you're no longer identified with the ego and all its games, your very presence becomes uncomfortable for those who are still deeply asleep. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that you're judging them or looking down on them or trying to make them feel bad. In fact, you might be more tamed, more present, more genuinely interested in them than you ever were before, but something about your energy, your way of being, makes them squirm. Why? Because consciousness is contagious. When you're present, when you're not caught up in the constant chatter of the mind, when you're simply being, it creates a space of stillness, a space of awareness. And in that space, other people's ego chatter becomes suddenly very loud to them. They become aware, even if just slightly, of the noise in their own heads. They become aware of their own anxiety, their own restlessness, their own constant need to be somewhere else, doing something else, being someone else. Your peace mirrors their chaos. Your stillness reflects their agitation. And instead of using this as an opportunity to question their own way of being, the ego's first instinct is to blame you for making them uncomfortable. It's your fault they feel this way. You're too serious. You're too calm. You're too quiet. Something must be wrong with you if you're not as anxious and busy and worried as they are. You might notice people don't want to sit with you in silence. They fill every gap with chatter. They ask you what you're thinking, what's wrong, why you're so quiet. They interpret your presence as judgment when it's simply presence. They project onto you their own discomfort with stillness, with silence, with simply being. And here's the beautiful paradox. The very thing that makes them uncomfortable, your awakened presence, is exactly what they need. Your stillness invites them to be still. Your peace offers them the possibility of peace. Your freedom shows them that freedom is possible. But the ego resists this invitation with everything it has, because accepting it means death to the ego. It means letting go of all the games, all the stories, all the desperate attempts to prove its existence. So some people will simply avoid you. They'll make excuses not to spend time with you. They'll drift away from your life. And that's okay. You cannot force anyone to wake up. You cannot drag them into awareness. All you can do is be who you are and trust that those who are ready will be drawn to what you represent. Others might accuse you of being judgmental, even though you're not judging them at all. They feel judged simply by being in the presence of someone who's not playing the game anymore. Your very existence questions their choices, even though you're not saying a word about their choices. This is projection. They judge themselves and then project that judgment onto you. The awakened response is compassion, because you remember what it was like to be asleep. You remember the constant anxiety, the need to defend yourself, the exhausting game of trying to be somebody. You remember how uncomfortable it was to be around anyone who seemed to have found something you were still desperately seeking. So you don't take their discomfort personally. You don't make it mean anything about you. You simply continue to be present, to be kind, to be available if they want to talk, or be silent together. Now here's what's important to understand about all 5 of these reactions. They are not about you. They're about the other person's relationship with their own ego. When you awaken, you become a mirror. And what people see in that mirror is not you, it's themselves. They see their own fears, their own resistance, their own attachment to the game they're playing. Some will look in the mirror and feel inspired. They'll want to know what you've found. They'll ask questions. They'll be curious about this peace you seem to carry. These are the ones who are ready, who are beginning to wake up themselves. They recognize in you something they've been looking for, even if they don't know what to call it yet. But others will look in the mirror and feel threatened, and they'll react in one or more of the ways we've discussed. They'll demand explanations, test you, gossip about you, try to pull you back, or simply feel uncomfortable around you. And all of this is just the ego's way of protecting itself from the possibility of change. The woman who glares at you in the grocery store is not really seeing you. She's seeing her own discomfort reflected back at her. The colleague who constantly criticizes you is not really responding to what you do. He's responding to what your way of being says about his way of being. The family member who accuses you of thinking you're better than everyone is not really talking about you. They're talking about their own insecurity, their own fear of change. Second, you remain compassionate because you know that being asleep is suffering. You know what it's like to be trapped in the ego's games, to feel that constant low-grade anxiety, to always be defending yourself against some imagined threat. So when people react to you in these ways, you see it for what it is. Cry for help, a desperate attempt to maintain the only sense of self they know. Third, you don't dim your light to make others comfortable. This is crucial. You might be tempted, out of kindness, to go back to playing some of the old games, to pretend you're still asleep, just to fit in, just to avoid making waves. But this doesn't serve anyone. Your light, your awakened presence, is a gift to the world, even when it makes people uncomfortable, especially when it makes people uncomfortable, because that discomfort is the first step toward questioning, toward waking up. Fourth, you trust the process. You understand that awakening is not something you can give to anyone else. They have to find it themselves. Your job is not to wake anyone up. Your job is simply to be awake yourself. And in being awake, in living from that place of presence and peace, you offer a possibility. You show that another way is available. What others do with that possibility is up to them. And fifth, you keep your sense of humor about the whole thing. 'Cause really, isn't it rather funny? The great cosmic joke of it all. Here we are, consciousness pretending to be separate individuals, egos fighting with other egos, all of us forgetting that we're the same thing, looking at itself through different eyes. When you see this, when you really get the joke, you can't help but laugh. Not at others, but with them, because we're all in this ridiculous play together. You see, the irritation people feel is not a problem to be solved. It's part of the process. It's part of how awakening spreads. One person wakes up, and their presence creates ripples. Some people surf those ripples toward their own awakening. Others resist them, build walls against them, pretend they don't feel them. But the ripples continue. The presence continues. The light continues to shine. And here's the final secret. The more you stop caring about these reactions, the more effective your presence becomes. When you're trying to prove something, trying to convince others, trying to make them see, you're still caught in the ego game. But when you simply are, when you live your life with presence and peace without any agenda, without any need for others to understand or approve, that's when the real magic happens. Because then you're not playing the game at all. You're not trying to win. You're not defending yourself. You're not even trying to wake anyone up. You're just being. And being is the most powerful thing in the world. Being is what the ego cannot withstand. Being is what gradually dissolves all the games, all the stories, all the desperate attempts to be somebody special. So let them react. Let them demand explanations. Let them test you. Let them gossip. Let them try to pull you back. Let them feel uncomfortable. It's all part of the dance. It's all part of the play. And you just keep being present, aware, free. You walk through the world like water through rocks, like wind through trees, like light through darkness. Not forcing anything, not resisting anything, simply flowing, simply being. And in that simple being, you offer the most powerful teaching of all. The teaching that has no words. The teaching that cannot be explained. The teaching that irritates every ego it encounters because it shows, without saying a word, that the emperor has no clothes. That the game we're all playing is just a game. That underneath all the roles and masks and stories, there is simply this presence, this awareness, this being. And that, my friends, is quite enough.